Hey everyone, this is Bob the Science Guy. You know, my wife came home the other day and said, hey, I was out shopping and I got you a model of the flat earth. And here it is. Look at that. It's flat. Last night, by the time I got done with my rant, I had 40 minutes of video. So I split it up into two parts. So as you may recall, in the first video, we talked about what a narcissist was, and we talked about the concept of DARVO, which is deny, attack, and then reverse the victim and the offender. In the second video, we talked about some of the ways that narcissists will deny your arguments. This one is actually a little tougher because this is the techniques they use to attack you. So let's get prepared for how you will be attacked by a narcissist. Now the next stage is the attack, and the attacks can be really vicious and personal and detailed. There may be threats to talk to your employees or family members or tell other people the secrets that they know about you. Now, if you're just a college physics student and you're coming in, as a party joke to talk to a flat earther, they're not really going to know who you are, okay? If you get somebody that is well known to them, such as me or MC Toon or some of the other major debunkers out here, they've been researching us for years. They'll find out our names. They'll threaten to dox us. They will look up our past histories to try and find something that they can attack us with. They'll find our wives' names. They'll send packages to our homes. These are all designed to try and intimidate you and prevent you from talking to them. The reason that they want to prevent people like me and MC Toon and some of the other major debunkers from talking to them is that we take them to the cleaners. We know our stuff. We are subject matter experts, and more importantly, we know their script. Their little Jedi verbal tricks don't work on us because we set boundaries. We don't defend ourselves against these claims that they bring up because, first of all, we don't care. Second of all, it has nothing to do with our argument. We stay on point, and then we just basically take them to the woodshed. One of the things a narcissist wants to do to gain power over you is somehow play to your fears of embarrassment. Now, what if I told your friends about this? Well, go ahead. I don't care. If they're my friends, they already know my bad habits anyhow. But we're here to talk about sunspots, and that's what I'm going to address. If you want to go off on another tangent, well, I guess we're done then. If they can't get a rise out of you, that irritates them more than anything. They don't know how to deal with that. It's an attack against their ego because they can't manipulate you, and they're expert manipulators. Now, other ways that they use language to try and attack you and get the upper hand over you is they try and pressure you into giving an answer, hoping that that answer, because you were pressured to get it out, will somehow have something that they can pick a hole in it. A classic way that you'll see this done is they'll ask you a question, you'll start to answer it, and then they'll immediately ask you a follow-up question before you're done with the first one. Don't do that. Finish your answer. And just tell them, thank you for letting me get through that first question. Now, you had a follow-up question? I'll take that now. And then they'll fire off a pre-prepared list of 15 or 20 things, one right after the other, as quick as they can. Well, Austin, you just asked me 12 different questions. Which is the one that you would like me to answer? Well, I want you to answer, no. One question at a time. What's the one question that you feel is most important? Let's discuss that first, and then we'll go on to the other ones. You set the pace of the discussion. Don't let them set the pace of the discussion. But narcissists and flat earthers, and they're almost interchangeable to be honest with you, are famous for doing this. They will love to ask you questions about subjects that they don't think you know anything about. If you do know something about it, that surprises them. A famous one is Austin Whitsitt talking about changes in gyrocompasses based on altitude. You know that they give a different spin rate if you take them up on a mountain. But if you actually know how these things work, you can sit down and say, well, oh, that's very interesting. You say it changes when you go up in a mountain. How do airplanes that use these same gyrocompasses correct for the altitude change as they're going around, or do they need to? And then their eyes get wide and their pupils dilate. Like shucks, he actually knew what I was talking about. I do not discuss modern physics, general and special relativity, and cutting-edge physics with people that think the Earth is flat. Okay? I find that they don't have the background nor the insight to have a meaningful conversation on modern physics. I limit them to Newtonian physics. I don't discuss anything with them that doesn't involve Newtonian physics, because you have to understand that thoroughly before you go on to general and special relativity. Now, another little trick that they'll do is they'll say, well, space is a violation of the second law of thermodynamics because you can't have a vacuum next to a pressurized atmosphere without the necessary antecedent of a container. What does that even mean? Now, notice how that he glossed over what the second law of thermodynamics was, this natural law. The second law of thermodynamics basically says in a closed system, things go from order to disorder. In other words, entropy naturally increases in a closed system. One of the things that he doesn't consider, because he doesn't actually know what the second law of thermodynamics means, is what the effect of work is on entropy. For example, by applying work to a system, you can reverse entropy. In the case of the atmosphere, when you have an external force acting on the mass of the atmosphere and displacing that mass in the direction of the applied force, down, that is overcoming the natural tendency of the gas to go out in all directions. And that is demonstrated by the fact that we have a pressure gradient in our atmosphere. That pressure gradient starts at sea level pressure at the ground level and then goes to zero, essentially, up by the Kármán line. And it's very difficult to tell where the atmosphere ends and space begins because the pressure is so low and there's so little mass of the atmosphere when you get up around 100 kilometers off the ground. But because he doesn't understand that, he seems to believe that there must be some sort of a container between the areas of lower pressure and the areas of higher pressure, or else that higher pressure would just disperse everywhere. It's a basic misunderstanding of the science. He'll just state it as a fact and then go on to his necessary antecedent spiel. Now, other verbal techniques that they'll use is something called word salad, where they're just basically saying gobbledygook. Because unless you're a subject matter expert, when somebody like Witsit or Quantum Eraser starts spewing off terms that sound like physics terms, the azimuthal grid of vision sounds like a very good scientific term. It doesn't mean anything. It's a meaningless phrase. It's designed to impress you because you hear somebody spew that out. Their assumption is that you'll think that they're smart. Hopefully, you'll think that they're smarter than you are. Another thing that they'll use is something called emotive language. In other words, language designed to make you upset, to trigger your emotions. They'll use euphemistic and vague terms so that if you call them out on it, they can just pass it off as an innocent mistake, a slip of the tongue. This is the narcissist trying to avoid accountability for their actions and their claims. The other thing is that they'll withhold key information. They'll take people that came on their shows and they'll put clips out of them getting excited or getting upset. Okay? They'll strategically leave out what caused the outburst, which was something that they did or said to the person. The bottom line is the main strategy is going to be don't go on these shows to begin with. If you do go on them, know exactly what you want to talk about and only talk about that. Don't let them lead you off. They'll try and attack your claim. They'll try and attack you personally. Here's my presentation. Here's the data that I brought to support it. I don't really have anything else to add to that, and I'm not interested in talking about another subject. So thank you very much for having me on. Take care. Now, for example, when it comes to me, I go on these shows very rarely. When I do, I have something very specific that I want to talk about, and I know their script. I know their flat earth model better than they do. And if I'm coming on to talk about something, I certainly know that a lot better than they do. Now, when they ask me to define a word, I don't define the word for them. I simply tell them, hey, let's just save some time. If you use a word, assume that I know what it means, because if I don't, I'll ask you about it. So go ahead and make your point. Well, I don't know about you, but that is unpleasant. It's never pleasant to talk to a narcissist, which is why the only way to really win the game is don't play it. Don't go on these flat earth discords. Don't go on these chat rooms where you have the narcissist and his little panel of minions. Just listen and pick out the techniques that they're using just for your own personal education. That way, when you encounter narcissists in the real world, you know how to deal with them. So this is Bob the Science Guy. Thank you very much for stopping by. Welcome to all my new subscribers. Remember, we do have the Telescope Fund going. If you're interested in participating in that, we're offering memberships, Patreon, and direct links by PayPal in case you'd like to support the acquisition of a Celestron 14-inch Edge HD telescope with a Hyperstar conversion kit. And one other thing I did want to mention, a correction from yesterday. I thought that the Jaren live stream was going to be last night. It's actually tonight. So go over to the Jarenism channel and put on a notification to have them let you know when that live stream's coming up, because that's a very, very large channel and a very prominent flat earther. And rumor has it, he's going to announce his departure from the flat earth. So until then, this is Bob the Science Guy. See you again soon.